Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I'm a 23-year-old competitive boulderer from Canada, currently living in Montreal. Welcome back to the COMPCLIMB training series, where I record most of my training, provide in-depth analysis of every session, and just chat about climbing with an emphasis on competition. So here we are climbing at Allez Up at the Milan location. Both of our sessions on day one, we're going to be training here. And I really like this gym. They have always good quality boulders and like really comp style movements. But when I was going into the session, I was kind of obviously we were doing a lot of really physically hard boulders in our last episode at Bloc Shop. So going into this session, I was actually kind of looking for a bit more of a chill session, do some comp style moves, maybe get like a nice amount of volume in, maybe like hopefully get a lot of tops. And the reason I say this is because the handful of sessions that I've had here at Allez Up, I haven't necessarily been challenged in the same way that I have at some of the other gyms in Montreal. Like Allez Up will definitely have hard boulders and tricky boulders, but I will rarely find myself really projecting something at this gym. But as we are going to find out in today's episode, that has now changed. I've been chatting to the head setter a bunch. His name is Guillaume Leonard, I believe, and he is psyched to start putting up a couple more challenging boulders, and we're going to start off with one of those boulders right now. So I was actually thinking about this right before I started recording, double checking if I had this stat correct. Every white tape, which is the hardest tape circuit here at Allez Up, I've ever attempted in this gym, I have not left undone. So that's what I mean when I say I haven't the white tapes haven't been pushing me to my limits quite yet at this gym, but Guillaume is deciding that is going to change right now. So this red boulder is super hard. This one is crazy. So these holds are really bad. At first when I looked at this, I said, okay, this looks hard, but I wasn't prepared for how bad these little circles are. All of them are the last one is I think the best one, but this first one is super slopey, and the next one is also not so great. And I think actually the crux of this boulder is probably matching the biggest circle. As you can see, I haven't been able to do it. The last holds, you can see I'm really struggling to use them, are bad, but I think after fiddling around with them for a while on these tries, I learned how to maneuver this ending sequence, and I think I came up with a plan of attack. But I still have yet to figure out how to match this big circle in the middle. And actually, I don't know if that's the crux. I forgot about this first move here. The first move is also very hard. We have this move up to the crimp where you potentially have to lose your left hand and just sort of keep the right hand on the crimp and the right foot. But I felt like I couldn't try the first move at my absolute best because I guess I should also mention in the previous episode at the end, I said that I was going to take 2 rest days because my skin was quite pink and I was bleeding at the end of our Bloc Shop day. But I didn't because I was just being in Montreal with all these gyms, it is really hard to resist training, and resting is very difficult, especially when there's just new sets in all these gyms all the time. It's very difficult to just not climb. So I only had 1 rest day, and I have some tape on my right hand, and so I didn't feel confident jumping up to that right crimp is kind of what I'm getting at. But yeah, that red boulder, all the moves felt possible, and I'll definitely be coming back to that. But now let's move on to this yellow boulder. So prepare to get very familiar with this boulder because I am. So this climb is also another white tape where Guillaume and the rest of the crew decided that they wanted to crush my soul on. So this one, upon first viewing, kind of looks like a paddle, like 1, 2, 3, all the way to this crimp. But as you can see, I'm channeling my inner Serato and learning that I can hang on this hold if I'm super, super careful enough. I can find a way to balance and just hang directly on the sloper. So obviously this is like one of the worst flat holds, and it's quite tricky to stick on this thing. But these like yellow ones that they have here at Allez Up are quite fresh and quite sticky. So like, let's say we took the flat holds that we have at my home gym, Climbers Rock, back in Burlington, this move would be impossible because ours are quite old and greasy. But luckily Allez Ups have some stick. So I'm trying the move, and yeah, I guess I've only stuck it once or twice, maybe like the first campus match. And so I decided I need to make sure I can do the ending because the first move is still a low percentage. I don't want to get got by the ending after making my way through the paddle. So I expect to sort of just figure it out like when I climb up here, and then I realized that the ending is also really hard. Well, I kind of find some better beta later, so it's doable, but it's not. I'm glad I went and tried it first, otherwise I definitely would have fallen the first time I make it through this beginning sequence. But yeah, this boulder is super fun to work on. I really like this sort of bouncy floating style of climbing. I'm not the best at it though, so it's really good to practice on. And I find that it's actually quite difficult to work boulders like this because your attempts really start to diminish. Also, yeah, here I figure out the ending. You just gotta kind of yank your way through. Yeah, your attempts really start to diminish the more you attempt a boulder like this, because the hold gets warm, your hands get extra sweaty, and like, yeah, you can go super hardcore and maybe bring a fan to the gym or something, or rest like super long. But I find, at least with my style of sessions, where I train quite fast paced and like to put a lot of tries on a boulder, I really struggle with working these sticky kind of boulders because I find myself attempting too fast and I can't control myself, and really rest for my hands to like cool down and stick to the holds. But yeah, it was still, I feel like I am like threading the line of going too fast paced and resting enough for my hands to cool down. But yeah, I couldn't quite get that white one either. I was 0 for 2, but I decided that, so actually at this point, I didn't know if I was gonna do my second session here at Allez Up because I didn't know how many boulders would go down in the morning session. But after getting my butt kicked in this morning session on these hard boulders, I decided to stay at the gym at Allez Up for another session later on so that I could revisit these white tapes. But for now, we are trying a pink tape slab. And yeah, so actually this was kind of the reason I also wanted to come to Allez Up. Guillaume messaged me a few days prior and said, hey, we got some nice tricky slabs up. I told him to message me anytime there were like good slabs up at Allez Up because I always need slab practice. And so he did, and so I knew that I would have some good bouncy techie boulders to work on, since especially at Bloc Shop, I don't think we actually got on a whole lot of slab, and it's always important to keep slab fresh in my mind. So this boulder was very tricky. This first move, you can see, looks like we kind of stand up to the sloper and then want our left foot on the highest black foothold and then kind of pincer the gray volume to the right. But I really wasn't vibing with that movement. And so I kind of reinvented the boulder in my own way and tried this sort of hand foot match step up, which I find is more my style. And even after my first try, I could definitely tell that it was gonna go. It was just a matter of having the foot land in a good spot and being nice and close to the wall and absorbing my momentum. So I just had to like keep trying it until my foot landed in a good spot on this start hold. And in order to make that happen, I really had to start emphasizing a technique of mine that I like to use on this very specific movement, which is also going to be the tip of the day for this episode. And so that is for, like, this is a pretty common move on slab, I would say, especially when we're looking at comp style slabs. Just you have a start hold, we jump to a hold, and we have to put our foot where our hand was on the start hold. So like a hand-foot match stab sort of thing. To really make sure that our foot lands in the spot that we want, and our hand does as well, I find that it really helps to, like, after you have pulled onto the wall and you're already like set up for the jump, right before you launch, you want to take a second to sort of look straight ahead and look at the start hold where your foot's going to land and the next hold that you're going to where your hand is going to land with your peripheral vision. So don't just stare at the hand that you're going to, and don't just kind of look down at where your hands already are. Kind of look right in the middle and use your peripheral vision to look at both of them at the same time. And this is a very common element and theme that we talk about with the tips of the days, is to just always try and give your mind more information of what it's about to do upon like the launch of a dyno or any kind of move, especially one that involves coordination, so that it just has more data to work with and our subconscious can use more data to help just execute our movement better. And so I feel like this is also kind of an not underrated, but easy to forget and overlook element of climbing that we should try to remember more, and that's using our peripheral vision. I find a lot of the times we'll get caught up in just staring at something, at one singular thing, but actually, as humans, we have this fantastic skill of using our peripheral vision where we can look at more than one thing, and that helps give more data to our brain and subconscious, like I was talking about, and this helps our body figure out how to stick this move better. So yeah, I pull on a start hold, I use my peripheral vision to like make sure I'm looking at the hand and the foot at the same time so that my limbs find the holds better. And that's sort of a very difficult trick to not work for you, basically. I feel like anytime you have this kind of move and you focus on this, it's going to help you, especially on slab. So yeah, tip of the day, use your peripheral vision to look at the holds you want to land upon any sort of jumping move, but especially like a hand foot stab. So yeah, in a way, this ends up kind of being like a beta break on this boulder, I guess. Because the idea is to land the black foot and the gray volume at the same time, which would be really hard. Like if I didn't find this beta break, this boulder would have taken a long time to do if I would have even been able to stick it, because that pincer move felt quite difficult. Also, this crimp that I'm grabbing with my right hand is like super blocked. So it's like barely even a hold, and it's really cool how it forces you to use a dihedral before you can jump to the finish, because you can't just like grab that crimp and then pull your way to the finish hold. So that was a really well set boulder, and I don't know if that was Guillaume set or not. I think it was. So if it was, nice job to him. And then it was not just the pink boulder, the pink tape slab, that was tricky. I was also told that this blue holds black was quite deceptive and was a difficult boulder to do with no information, especially. So here I am trying it, and I guess I'll also just mention we've been climbing for a long time in this morning session. Obviously, we've been like putting a lot of attempts on. I usually go for like an hour in all my boulder sessions, and sometimes I'll end up going over time to like an hour and 15 minutes. But I was just like really caught up in this session and having a good time on these boulders. This session ended up being like an hour and 45 minutes, I think, which doesn't necessarily sound like a lot, but it's a lot when you have to do another session later on in the day. So I kind of lost control and was not able to rein myself in during this morning session and climbed for a little bit too long. But these last couple boulders that we were trying were slabs and didn't like take too much energy and wouldn't really impact the next session later, which I was very psyched for because we had some really hard boulders to try again, which is always exciting. So here we are for session 2, still at Alley Up, and we are getting back on this yellow thing. So this was immediately after I finished warming up. Here's my first go. Already I'm like hanging on the hold very nicely, going into the paddle, and I was like kind of not ready to hold the crimp, and I fell on this move. But I think that attempt was probably my best try of the day. And so keep this in mind, what I'm just saying, that first attempt that I just put on was my best of the day, closest. I felt like I had it like right in my hand, and just wasn't like ready to latch the crimp. And you're gonna realize just how sad that is after you watch me try this boulder 100 times. So I felt like really sticky on that first try. And I was also feeling like stronger in the session than the morning. But this is what I'm talking about. Trying boulders like this is really difficult, like the stickiness, because your attempts just get worse the more you try it. Unless you like really rest properly and maybe get a fan involved, really brush the holds. But that's not my style, I guess. I'm not designed to try a boulder like this. I just keep sort of throwing myself at the wall, trying to force my way through this, instead of like really trying to embrace the stick. So this boulder was just crushing my soul and my dreams, and I sort of went like Le Crux style, for those who remember the paddle boulder that I threw a tantrum on and just put a million attempts on from like a month back. This was kind of happening on this boulder. Like, I wasn't angry, I was having fun. Like, this boulder is quite fun, but the enraging part was every time I have one of those attempts where I kind of almost hold the crimp and fall, I am shredding my already pink right hand even further down, and it was just getting really sad. And then, okay, here we go. This is the attempt also, which made the whole experience a little bit sadder, where I realized just how much better crossing left-handed that crimp was. I was like not ready to hold the crimp again. I just kind of like, I'm gonna just try crossing left hand. I don't think it's gonna work, but I'm ruling out the right hand paddle bump. The cross left hand is away. Oh my goodness. I think that I'm gonna come back to Alley Up to try that boulder, even though we just tried it 100 times and I'm gonna have nightmares about it now. But I need to just close the chapter with that boulder. It's personal now. And so I'm sure, hopefully I'll make it back to Alley Up before that gets taken down to retry it. And I'm saying it now. I'm gonna say it right now. I'm gonna do that first attempt with the cross method. And I'm just gonna really embrace the stick that you get from the first try on a boulder like that. But yeah, that was a really epic boulder. Shout out to Guillaume for setting that one. Really good style for me to work on. He nailed on that line of that slipper being too bad or not to hold. So that was a really good boulder, and I'll be back for that, I think. So here we are the next morning at Bloc Shop Chabanel, and you may recognize this boulder from our last session. It is the last white tape in the gym that I have left, and probably the hardest one as well. We didn't really stick, maybe we stuck like a move or two on it last time, and it was also after we had already done quite a lot of hard climbing, so I was not in the best condition to really try this boulder, so I wanted to like really work it properly today. And another reason that I wanted to try this boulder was after like wrecking my skin on the yellow yesterday, I needed to think of a gym with some boulders that like weren't too bad on the skin. And so this boulder actually is not too bad on the skin because a lot of the moves are quite static. Even though we're grabbing like, kind of some fiberglass and some crimps, every move is static and there's no like really gripping and ripping and like super intense contact strength involved. So this boulder was perfect for my pink tips. And this boulder is just really, really hard. This thing is insane. So this beginning sequence that I'm trying now is kind of what we were sussing out on the first session we were trying this boulder. I couldn't really figure anything out, and this position that I'm in here is kind of where I was getting stuck the other day. When we get our right hand to this crimp, I have no idea how to get my left foot up to the volume in order to work into the undercling. Like, it's just, obviously we have kind of like a knee bar and a toe hook in that position, but unless you're supposed to just take a really intense foot cut on the sloper and the crimp, you can't bring your left foot up to the volume with your hand on the crimp statically, because it's just like right in your face. So I decided to just work the ending a bit more and then maybe revisit the beginning later. So here I start finding a bit of an interesting sequence. I was just staring at the boulder, trying to figure something out, and I said, hey, what if I can get into a position where I put a knee bar on the sloper? So this knee bar is like it's like decently good, and it allows me to cross through. Also, I should say on that volume, there are two undercling chips. So they're like two like slopey, crimpy kind of holds. They're not in cut, so you don't really get any bite out of them, and it just allows you to use this volume as sort of like a deadlift position, but they don't really allow you to pull in very much. So this boulder is like very, very intense on the back when we get into these underclings. And so here I find a way to go right hand to the crimp with my foot on the volume, and I definitely can work my way through this section of the boulder with this method. The problem is though, how do I get my left foot up on the volume before going to the crimp, right? I realized this later. I don't know how to do that part. So in theory, if I can get my left foot up to the volume to go to the crimp and then go into these underclings, okay, then I can work my way up to this next undercling, which has another like slopey plate on it. It's like really bad, and the foot is really slippery. Then maybe I can figure something out. But this undercling, these volumes look like quite good. It's quite deceptive, but they are very, very slippery. And actually the bottom of this volume, of this highest volume that we're grabbing, is dual text. And so it actually adds this very weird element to the boulder. And I think it also doesn't allow you to sort of just match the volume as an undercling with your right hand. And it forces you to just use the left hand and then kind of maybe get a knee bar and go right up for the next flat hold fiberglass. So as we're like working this boulder, you see I'm not really sticking any moves. And now, see, here's what I mean. Like from that position, how do I get my left foot up to the volume in order to do the sequence that I found? I can't think of a way, because it's like really kind of above your head there. So after working that boulder for like quite a while, I think I have to just concede defeat on that one. I can't send every boulder in Montreal, and that one is just too hard for me. That one is crazy, but it was a lot of fun, and it's like a super cool boulder, and I really enjoyed just projecting it, even though I realized pretty early on that it was not going to be very fruitful. But just the process of projecting like an absolute mega boulder like that is a lot of fun. And Bloc Shop has just so many of these boulders that are just fun to just project, even if you're not going to send it. So I had like a bit of energy. I actually wasn't feeling too bad on this day. I was feeling pretty good, but my skin was kind of just the not fun part about the session. It was like burning the whole time. But this boulder here actually also wasn't too bad on the skin because the moves were pretty static. And so this boulder was quite cool. The crux element of this boulder obviously revolves around this super bad gray volume, and it took me a long time to really realize how to grab this hold. At first I was not going far enough to the right. It gets a little bit better. There's like kind of a lip at the back of it when we go to the right, and it also allows me to kind of compress the whole sequence a bit more instead of just down pulling. So I realized I can actually match the sloper, like if I'm super precarious, and then this left hand is actually bad. Like that was also really hard about this boulder, is moving up to the left hand. It was really slopey, so you couldn't just jump to it. And then by the ending, I was like, oh man, I don't think that I can work my way through this beginning again. I'm starting to get tired, so I gotta make sure that I commit to this finish, which was a pretty good hold. And that one was actually a good little send, I think. That was a fun boulder, which wasn't really my style. And so I was glad to learn how to use that really bad sloper volume. And so here you can see me crying a little bit because my fingertips are getting really pink. So anytime I'm like jumping to a hold and not holding it, it's really hurting. And so like I said, I didn't take my 2-day rest that I was supposed to because I was really itching to get to the gym. But like now I just have to do it now. Like I have no choice. I'm realizing in Montreal, when my skin gets this pink, I have to take a double rest day because it can really mess up some training sessions if you have pink tips. So yeah, this is the last boulder that we do in the session, and then I'm gonna have to take my double rest day and really hit the nice reset button. Also, this boulder here is going to feature the comp climber doesn't know how to top out. So this lip is actually like quite slopey, and I wasn't ready for it to be like a difficult top out. So I just fell, and I didn't actually send this boulder. No top. I couldn't top it out. There are like 2 extra lips over the boulder. It's like the slopey one and another slopey one, but then like another slopey one. So top it was actually kind of hard, and it was scary, so I just fell. But yeah, that concludes our episode of me just getting smacked around, sending like nothing. And like this is exactly what I want. I want boulders that are just testing me and pushing me to my limits, and like boulders that I just can't wait to go get back to the gym and try again. This is why we came to Montreal, and this is just so good. And we got like I can't keep up with the boulders everywhere. It's so awesome. So I have to force myself to take 2 rest days. I must control myself. I will take 2 days off, heal up the skin, and then man, I'm done. I think I want to go back to Allez Up and just freaking do that yellow boulder on my first go and try the red one again. But that's the idea. So probably Allez Up in the next episode, and maybe Beta Block to try that other red slopey boulder that we were doing a few episodes ago. So that's the plan, and you can look forward to that. Insert catchy video outro here.